Hi, everybody. This is Paul Hitchcock, founder and president of Giant Jacks Media. This is Giant TV. Thanks for being here, where we bring you hot issues that people care about, and certainly AI is one of them. Really excited for my guest here today. I have Vistage Chair Michael Edwards. Welcome, Michael.
Welcome. Hi, both of you.
Yeah, and then I've got Eric Langley, who is an AI expert, advising businesses across the country on innovation, including AI. Falls under that umbrella. Welcome, Eric.
Howdy, Paul. Good to see you.
So let's jump into this, and we're going to start with you, Michael. Want to just tell us a bit about what you're doing there, building up your Vistage groups. Love to hear that.
Happy to. As a brief background, I'm a retired attorney. I've owned two software companies, and I thought I had retired during COVID, but unretired after that because I didn't like it. I am a chair for Vistage Worldwide in Nebraska. Vistage is the oldest and largest leadership development firm in the world, 66 years old. More than 45,000 active members in 35 countries. So that sets the stage for that a little bit.
Yeah.
I have two groups. One is for CEOs, and the other is for trusted advisors. In this context here today, I'm more interested in the CEO part of it because that's where the interest lies. We have monthly meetings, and AI comes up in every meeting.
Oh, interesting.
As a new AI network to go with its 31 other networks, and it's a busy place. So the timing for this is just great. My members are all interested in AI. They may not know very much about it. Some of the older ones are a little apprehensive, and I understand that. But I think this type of session will help them and other business owners and leaders a lot.
Yeah, no, that's great, Michael. And you're getting together every month with your members. All the CEOs get together and process issues. I imagine AI is coming up there too, and that's great. And then you also have one-to-ones. So beyond the monthlies, you're getting together one-to-one.
Yeah, we get together monthly for up to 2 hours to do one-on-one coaching, which really digs up issues that we want to pursue at the meetings. And it always comes up there too. Maybe not in as much detail because it is just a one-to-one, but it's, I'm lucky that I've been through a number of revolutions, so to speak, in technology, personal computing, and a number of others. And I have not seen anything so white hot as AI that is touching everything. I mean, you can't turn on the TV and see an ad. You can't read anything on the internet that doesn't have somebody saying, "Well, our product has AI in it."
Yep.
So very timely.
Yeah, no, and I've said before, all the apps I use, so they're all rolling out AI, getting emails. Hey, check out our AI, be the first one. And so, Michael, just last question I have, we'll get over to Eric, is what openings do you have? Who would you like to add to your group? I know you've got a really special mix of people there in your building, but what's open now?
Well, the interesting thing about Vistage groups at the CEO level is that they're non-competitive. You don't have more than one member from a competing profession or industry. I have all kinds. One member leads a company that has almost 60 lumber yards and milling operations. I have consultants. I have the CEO of large medical practices. It's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Michael, quick question here about those different practices. What do you think the CEOs of those various industries, is there one industry that AI might be getting more inquiries from than another, or what does that look like?
Um, that's possible, and we can go into that a little bit. I think where they start is looking for an area of day-to-day operations that AI can help with because they understand their day-to-day operations. And I have one member that uses it every day, and whether it's writing memos or whatever, he gave me a whole list of things he's doing. He's unusual in that regard. I would say that uh, the large nonprofit that has an element of profit in it that works with other nonprofits to help them with IT and marketing can use some of those things to help them provide their services more efficiently. So that's an example of one.
Yeah, love it, which I think gets us over to you, Eric. And let's jump into AI and get into the weeds a little bit. What are we looking at here? What do we need to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think Michael hit it on the head that really it's touching every area of life and business. I mean, there's not an area that you can go into a company and say, boy, there's just really no use for AI in this space. Whether it's HR or sales and marketing or operations or finance or, I mean, customer experience, you name it. There's a use case in every single area for AI, which can be overwhelming because
Yes.
now where do you start? So that becomes a factor.
Yeah, and your comment about being overwhelming is that comes up a lot because it's almost like when, the internet first came about. It just seemed like, okay, there's so much it can do, and where do you start with it? And it wasn't sort of like a hair on fire issue where you had to go in and figure it out right now. But if you didn't figure it out, you got left behind. So AI seems the same way, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking with a client today that basically said, he said, we're already behind. And,
Right.
we've really got a sense of urgency about this. We really need to get moving and get going. And I think, when you start, it's a little easier for me coming in from the outside because I have that little bit of objective, at least in the beginning, objective picture of the business. And I can say, here's some quick wins or here's some low hanging fruit that we can get. Let's get those out of the way with an eye towards 2 years down the road, more extensive projects that are maybe harder to implement, but have a really foundational impact on the business, even all the way down to business models.
Yeah.
I think companies could see their business models disrupted over the next couple of years. I mean, Michael, you probably see that concern in your
Sure.
group members.
Yeah, very much so. There's uh, what goes along with the desire to use AI is the questions that come up about how it's going to affect them and how they can be in control of those changes rather than at the tail end. I think when you talk about low hanging fruit and to tag a little bit onto what I said before, um, I think the low hanging fruit is to get them comfortable with AI and some of the business operations that they do, basic things, and get them comfortable and then move them into more sophisticated ways of using it for their particular business.
Mhm.
And because they need to be comfortable with what they're doing. I mean, they don't know, a lot of them know what it is, but they don't know what it is,
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they know sort of what it does, but they're wondering whether it's just a super Google.
Yeah.
So they need to
Exactly.
learn.
Exactly. Well, and you mentioned, we have the member there that is using it every day, probably for document creation and ideation and a number of different things. I think one of the favorite things that I like to do is see a CEO's eyes, or any any person in a company when they can query the agent and it gives them information about their business. And that's when you get their data tied in, and maybe even third party data, but definitely your own data. That is then a powerful thing because now you're talking with your data. And You can glean insights
That's
and
right.
get
Yeah.
reports and get charts and graphs and content that you wouldn't necessarily have had access to because it's pulling it from multiple locations. And that's really powerful.
Yeah, I think one thing they can do is take a product like Chat GPT and play with it because they're not going to know what the power of the product is until they just try it
Yeah,
and for whatever task that they can come up with. So
for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and Eric, what are you doing when you're going into a business? I know, AI is a piece of what you're looking at, but how does that work? You go in and are you meeting with the management team and the CEO? Describe that scenario.
Exactly what you said. AI is a piece of what I do because my focus is on innovation at large. So tech AI is a tool in technology. Automation is still a valuable tool, straight, logical automation. But now when you combine what used to be just logical systems and these creative systems that AI gets, and you bring those together, you've now really got what I like to call smart automation. And that is a very powerful tool. And I go in and I help companies just figure out where they want to get to and let them know what's possible. Hey, these are things we can do. And now we have this list that we create and we can start to prioritize. Well, and people, I actually make a poll or a voting machine where different leaders in the organization can choose what they think is more important. And now you can come up with a ranking for initiatives. And some of these are extensive. So you don't want to just jump in and say, well, we want to do A initiative instead of C unless we really know why. So we determine that why a lot of times.
Yeah. Do you find that you have to have a champion for AI within the business that it helps?
I mean, for sure. I mean, you need the executive team on board, certainly the CEO. If you don't have that buy-in at the top level and commitment to it, and actually in my process, in my onboarding process, the last item is commitment. If you don't have the commitment, there really isn't any. I don't want to spin my wheels either.
Right. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
all want to be committed. You want to have committed people. You don't necessarily know where you're going. It's an unknown path to get there. You know where you're going, but the path that you're going to take is varied. And a decision that you make tomorrow is going to affect what happens, a year from now. So, you make the best decision you can. And AI can help give you that data.
I think that it helps a Vistage group of CEOs to have a thought leader in the group. They're all interested in it, but some are interested to a greater degree and know more about it and understand more about it. And they help me lead discussions or jump right into it, and it sort of keeps the other members' thoughts flowing, if you will.
Yeah. Well said. And Eric, any sort of real life applications that you've seen that you worked on? I know you've mentioned a few if we've been talking before, but how does it actually work where AI can come in and make a meaningful change?
Yeah, I think for a lot of companies, in one of my surveys, my AI strategy surveys, asked the question, where's the biggest constraint to growth in your business? And a lot of times that's in leads, in new prospects for your business, whether it's B2C or B2B. It's getting somebody that's actually interested in the product so that you can have a conversation. And in a marketing standpoint, AI is done a lot. I mean, you've got smart conversational chatbots now that can book a meeting, conversational texting. A lot of power is now in those systems to make the onboarding process for a client more efficient and more enjoyable.
Yeah. And I've heard you say before that using automation isn't about taking jobs away from people. It's about letting them focus on more productive things.
Exactly. You think about what I just mentioned, those are a lot of things that a sales development representative would do,
Yeah.
an SDR. But that doesn't eliminate the need for the SDR. It's just going to enable them to do their job more efficiently. And the phrase that I like to use for that is going from mundane, repetitive tasks to meaningful work. And when that SDR is having a conversation with a person that is ready to talk, they're being used at their highest and best potential, and then they hand that off to an account executive or whatever. Those people are now doing the best work that they can, talking to prospective customers
Yeah.
or customers that they can really make a difference with.
Yeah. What about proposal generation? That seems to be a huge one. Even thinking about stuff I'm involved with, where there just is a lot of, people hours involved in generating proposals. You see that as a big step for all industries?
Yeah, all industries, but my favorite for that is construction because of the amount of work that goes into creating a bid in a construction project is simply monumental. It takes literally hundreds of man hours to put together a bid for a significant size project. And AI can make that not only make it faster and better, but reduce the risk of making a mistake
Mm.
because it can read that whole construction document and know exactly what it is that's being looked for. Whereas a person could read it and they might miss a step or something like that. AI isn't going to necessarily do that. It can, but it won't necessarily do
Eric, I have members a couple of members who deal with RFPs on an almost daily basis.
that.
And they see them coming with trepidation and excitement because I had to do that and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
an
And,
awful-
and and if you can do more of those, like if you have a X capacity for so many bids you can do or RFPs, and you can increase that by 25%, what's your top line look like if you can get now 5 more jobs out of that? Those are big numbers.
Absolutely.
So, as long as the pipe is even, if you can take in that many more RFPs, then you need to be able to support it over here on the backside too. So hiring, staffing, training, all that becomes part of that, increasing the pipe, right? Making the pipe bigger.
Yeah, and I got some feedback recently, Eric. You sat down with a management team at a company with another chair, and the feedback was insanely positive on that session. And that's kind of where you start off, right? It's just that initial session and having that dialogue.
Yeah, have the conversation, where do you want to go? I have a very conversational flow. It's what's your existing situation? What are the challenges you're having? What are the benefits of getting where you want to go? Like if you picture your business in 2 years AI centric, well, what does that look like? What are the numbers like? What's your day like? What does it feel like? I think it's a lot less stressful.
Yeah, yeah,
And in the future when things are more fluid. Right now there's so many ways for things to fall through the cracks, and that always scared me when I was doing IT for 20 years. Something falls through the crack, that could be a disaster.
yeah,
And you have good automation systems, it happens less, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
yeah. Good stuff. And we could talk about this
Yeah.
forever. Great discussion. I want to mention to people watching this, because we stream this everywhere, is that there is a complimentary AI strategy session offered from Michael's practice. And that's going to be around this video, wherever you're watching it, a way to get connected to Michael, get connected to Eric. That way you get one-on-one with the two of them. We're doing a ton of those. Those are great. I just mentioned getting a lot of positive feedback when Eric's doing this. So take advantage of that. And it's way, I know that, Michael, you're giving back to, your network. So thanks both of you for being here. I really much, very much appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.